A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend. ChristiTutionalist Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with thelibertybeacon.com. And I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show.
Hey. Oh, wait a minute. Why is this all of a sudden sounding like, hey, it's Fat Albert? No, this isn't a Bill Cosby routine. For those on BitChute, Brighteon, Rumble, YouTube, see behind the scenes, I've got my principles, not personalities, background with 3 of my 5 international books up there on the background. I forgot to change the background, so let's do that. Video settings, as I say in the opening, right? Low key, not major high production. You see it live, not live, but raw and uncut, the blemishes and all. And yes, indeed, I could have stopped the recording and restarted it with the now correct ChristiTutionalist Politics banner background. But hey, this is me. You're getting me, the imperfect guy, right? I'm not here to put on airs. But indeed, at any rate, okay, let's get one of them in and out of the way already. And the other thing, if you're looking on the video, I'm wearing my A True Shockcaster shirt. Shockcaster being a term I coined several years ago, based on the old obvious DJs like Stern and Imus and a Mad Cow became known as shock jocks. Well, this is the era of the podcaster, so I coined shockcaster. Well, the only time I'm a shockcaster or in shockcaster mode is when I'm on with Savaged on Savaged Unfiltered, and indeed Savaged is running with the A True Shockcaster. This is a shirt that you can get from the Savaged Army store based on my term creation, because indeed Michael Gardner, his real name, in case you want to look up his books, Savaged is indeed from radio, traditional radio originally, and indeed Savaged Unfiltered, obviously in the name, it's more a shockcaster oriented kind of podcast. Whereas ChristiTutionalist Politics, while what I may say at times may be shocking to people, reality often is to the delusional. But I'm not here to purposely, willfully, and malice of forethought be in your face and shocking to make my points, usually in general. But indeed, are you ready? I know you know what I'm going to say, right? Ready? Here it comes. At any rate. And yes, for the benefit of the transcript, again, some people read the show rather than listen or watch the video on the video channels. For the benefit of the transcript, yes, laughing out loud at myself at my at any rate crutch that I now indeed purposefully, willfully, and malice of forethought throw into the show as a kind of poke at myself in hilarity, because we've got to keep a sense of humor. But indeed, at any rate, looking at the clock, like 4 minutes in, I haven't even said the title of the show yet. So let's get on with the show, as Graham Norton used to say. Let's pretend that first part hadn't even happened yet. If you're looking on video or you can hear me shaking and need the notes, normally, I have the Liberty Beacon piece written already before I record a show, the corresponding, correlating in conjunction with the libertybeacon.com article. But today, if you could see that, I'm trying to get it visible in the cam. There you go. You can see I've just got 5 bullet point notes on there that I want to touch on. I will touch on in the show now, and of course, will then be in the article, but I will expand more in the article on each of these 5 items. First, let me read the opening that I do have in place. The title. Duh. I apologize. I beg your pardon. What the bleep is the title of the show? It might change, but the title, I might go with the shorter part, but the full title of the Liberty Beacon Associated article is Finding the Sweet Spot. No, not sexual thing. Get your mind out of the gutter. LOL. Finding the sweet spot. What are we talking about here? Well, I went to an outdoor open play the other day at a church I had never been to. That just minor tease set up as to how and why this is in my mind again now. I've thought of it several times, hadn't addressed it, feel I need to now. But item 1, number 1, if you can see it on the list, is gray areas. You know I've had, or I hope you know, if you don't know, please go back in to Buzzsprout, my Buzzsprout archives, or iHeart, or Amazon Music, or whatever of the 20 platforms this show is carried, or BitChute, Brighteon, Rumble, YouTube, the video behind the scenes sneak peek video version archives of the shows. I've done 2 shows, written 2 articles at TLB. Gray areas. Things aren't always black and white, right and wrong, good and bad, godly evil. Well, that one's a lot more definitive, but no person is generally all good, saintly, at least not in our times, I dare say. No one is all saint and no one is all pure evil sinner 100,000% of the time. There are gray areas, right? No one is all right or wrong. If Joseph Robinette Biden says something I agree with, I will not just put on my red MAGA, rah, Trump team hat and say, I disagree with him just to be contradictory. If he says something I agree with, I'll agree with him. And vice versa. Trump, not all right, not all wrong, not all good, not all bad. Character matters. And while I feel he's grown a lot, there's still that inner 6-year-old child at times. That's an issue. Trump, I agree with most of the time, but if I disagree, I'm vocally going to say I disagree because I worship no man. I'm not a cultist for any man. If you know me, you know I coined the term nincompoop. I criticize Francis. He, in my mind, is far more interested in peddling communism than Catholicism a lot of the times. But again, this show is not meant to be partisan in the denominational sense, not a Catholic show, not a Methodist show, not a Lutheran show, not a this show, that show, yada, yada, yada show. It's the overall Christianity umbrella and focusing on our Bible parts, our separate Bibles. There are so many of them that the things that we can come together and agree on under Christ, not division, as Satan wins if we are busy being divided and arguing amongst each other. But gray areas, right? So if Trump says something I disagree with, I'm going to say I'm not a cultist for any person. We are all human, frail, flawed, capable of mistakes. So I am not going to worship no man on this planet. I worship Jesus. That's the point of this show, right? Gray areas. Have I made that point? Please, again, there's a part 1, a part 2. Please check out those areas. I'm not drawing a clear, I should have wrote down in my notes, a clear example of, again, pick anyone in your family. If you're not looking through rose-colored glasses, everyone has faults. No one is perfect. And our interpretation of what we would define as perfect might be different from somebody else. So there are gray areas of agreement and disagreement. And hence this show title, I guess it's a gray areas part 3. I didn't think of that till just now. Finding the sweet spot in not being off the deep end one way or off the deep end the other way, and completely closed-minded and closed heart and unable to think things through. Item 5, pensive, thoughtful versus reactionary emotional hysterics. There's a tease. That's number 5. We'll get there. So enough with the gray areas. I think and hope you get that to set this up. 2, love even our enemies is my note to remind me. And hate the sin, love the sinner. Get it now? Where is the sweet spot? Where is that line to indeed biblically condemn not, lest ye be condemned? Final judgment is for the Lord. But the Bible has a dozen plus passages on judgment. We are to judge, and we are to judge biblically, and we are not to be hypocrites about it. Judge the same biblical standards, remove the log from our own eye before criticizing others, judging on the same standards. So where is that line? Yes, hate the sin, love the sinner. But someone who wants to dwell in their sin all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year, okay, you do not associate with them then, correct? There is gray area. We are to hate the sin, love the sinner, but at the same time, how can we allow ourselves to associate with someone who is openly evil, is the point here all the time? There's a difference and a distinction here. But what brought this up? Item 3 on the note, outdoor play, different churches. Okay, we're going to get into the crux of finding that sweet spot in this gray area. We are to hate the sin and love the sinner. I went to an outdoor play. I just happened to get an email, open theater group in the Downriver, Detroit, Michigan area I'm in. I get their emails. I've been meaning to go to one of their plays for a year and a half or so now and just never got around to it. And they had an open air theater play, 2 people. I did that again, holding up both fingers with 2 on it makes 4. Duh. Dummy. 1 hand, 2 fingers on it. 2 people did a murder mystery play, played a dozen parts or so. Both people swapping in and out, putting on a different item to depict the fact, and a different change in tone of voice to depict the different characters. Really good. I enjoyed it. But that's an aside. The point here is that open theater event last night was held at a church that I've gone past on Fort Street. That won't mean much to most of you. Fort Street, southbound, out of Wyandotte, headed down, if you take it all the way down towards Toledo, a Lutheran church. Again, not to pick per se on, sorry. Like I said, this is a raw, uncut. You probably heard the Skype chime. Somebody tried to call me on Skype. I just ended the call. What I was saying, southbound 4th Street, a church, a Lutheran church. This is not about Lutheran per se. It just happens to be this particular church. On the door, there is the Rainbow Mafia alphabet flag on the left, forming the left portion of the heart, and then in purple, the rest of it forming the rest of the heart, and in the center of the heart, the word inclusive. Okay? Now, as a number 5, reactionary, my first reactionary thought is, I'm leaving. This is not a Church of Christ. It's a church of woke. But then my intellectual side took over, my pensive, thoughtful side took over, and said, well, wait a minute, I don't have enough information. Jesus wants us to hate the sin, love the sinner. I may be overreacting here. I don't know enough about this church, and I met Pastor Jeff. I don't know enough about him, and I gave him a copy of my ChristiTutionalist Politics book, the first one, which in the back has Taking the Rainbow Back. So maybe not, I might hear back from him, because I'm in that book talking about taking back the full 7-colored God's rainbow from the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia crowd. But again, my intellectual side, and the point, finding that sweet spot. Hate the sin, love the sinner. I have gay and lesbian friends. I'm sorry, Billy. I'm going to mention your name, not your last name, obviously. Billy, gay man, known him for decades. My sister and he became friends. My sister is 7 years younger than I am. When they were in high school together, he quickly became a quasi part of our family. We know he's gay. It is not an issue for me. It is condemn not, lest ye be condemned, because Billy is a tolerance and acceptance gay. And there's a distinction, and I'm getting to it. So please do not get upset. Please bear with me through this whole thing, right? Where's the sweet spot? Hate the sin, love the sinner. And we love Billy like he's a member of our family. He was always, not always, but, on occasion over for dinner and whatnot with the family. And we accept him as part of the family. But again, he is one of those, I'm a person who happens to be gay, not versus the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia, as I coin gaytivists engaging in gaytivism, where Billy's not anti-Christian, but these gaytivists engaging in gaytivism often are very anti-Christian and peddling the notion Christians are hateful. They hate gays. No, I just outlined. I love Billy like a brother. Lesbian friends, love them like sisters, okay? But they are tolerance and acceptance. They are people who happen to be this and struggling with such, okay? understanding my Christian position on traditional marriage doesn't mean I hate them. It has nothing to do with hate. But the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia, Billy doesn't want anything to do with them. Louvain DuPont, that we've discussed, she is a trans. All right, let me put that, all right, in air quotes, trans, because again, I know that's the accepted term. We have to deal in language, but Louvain DuPont has been on Savaged Unfiltered, and again, he, she, Louvain, to avoid a pronoun entirely, because Louvain also, again, understands my position, or let me dive off that for a second. Log cabin Republicans, gay Republicans, got no problem with them. They're not gaytivists engaging in gaytivism. So you can be gay and conservative. You don't have to be a left-wing loon, anti-Christian, anti-American, as the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia crowd are. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. Log cabin Republicans want nothing to do with the whole LGBT, LMNOPXYZ, plus minus, divide, equal, caret symbol, whatever that Rainbow Alphabet Mafia garbage indicator is today. They don't want nothing to do with it. Louvain doesn't want nothing to do with it. Gaytivists. Billy wants nothing to do with gaytivists. Log cabin Republicans want nothing to do with gaytivists engaging in gaytivism. So there is a difference there. Hate the sin, love the sinner. But the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia crowd are that red line. There is a difference, right? Finding that sweet spot, tolerance and acceptance, still being honest with gay and lesbians that are indeed, I'm a person who happens to be gay, as opposed to these ideologue activists, groomers, engaging in pedophilia and recruitment. That is different. That is a red line. I will not cross that. That's the difference here. See that sweet spot, being open and loving as Christ wants us to, but understanding there are indeed red lines in the Bible that contextually have to be understood and cannot and will not be crossed. So I certainly didn't say anything to Pastor Jeff, but that image on the door initially emotionally upset me. But again, I don't know enough. Our inclusivity is fine. Bending over backwards to cater to a woke agenda and the Rainbow Alphabet Mafia is another story. So I don't know. That word inclusive or inclusivity has become such a divisive fighting term now. So again, my heart said, I got to leave. This might be a church of woke rather than a church of Christ. But then again, this show is about having a heart, but not letting it rule our head all the time. We must think. We must apply logic, reason, common sense. Inclusivity in the original traditional Webster-Merriam definition of the term is an okay thing. It's a biblical thing. It is the modern, twisted, warped, woke, pathetical corruptness, as I call PC, cultural Marxism, bastardization of inclusive that is, again, at issue. And on thelibertybeacon.com, yes, I've got twisting and warping of the language, part 1 and part 2. If you've not read those, please check those out at thelibertybeacon.com. I see I'm like almost 25 minutes in, so I want to move along. Item 4, chasing away a sinner. Well, why do I say that? And why does point 3 lead to point 4 in finding the sweet spot? I know someone else who recently left his church because there was indeed a sinner there, a former alcoholic who was abusive towards others in life, trying to get straight, turn their life around, been sober, but yet some holier than all Christians, good, bad, and ugly. These, in my mind, are fake Christians. If you think you're holier than all, and like they did, tell this person trying to get their life right, coming to church, finding Christ to try to help get their life right, looking for help from our church family, and they tell him, "You're not welcome here." Excuse me? Everyone has to be welcome, but at the same time, at the point being, the pastor can't then leave out parts of the Bible to be so inclusive, right? So open-minded, as the saying goes, that your brain falls out. You must teach and preach the whole Bible, and if it upsets some of the parishioners, oh well, that's their problem. That's because they're not looking for the real Christ and Christianity. They're, as my friend Pastor Sean Todd of Wham says, they're looking for the hacky sack version of Jesus. Just the peace, love, and tolerance only ever, leaving out the parts where he called fake Christians vipers, fools, snakes, right? There's the tough side of Jesus, the tough love part we must include too, but we shouldn't, unless it's someone's coming in threatening to burn down the church. Well, yeah, okay, all right, gray area, nothing absolute. We are to be welcoming and open to all. We indeed want to, in the traditional original definition, want to be inclusive. But if somebody's coming in bad-mouthing Christianity all the time and threatening to burn down your church, yeah, no, you get a restraining order. They are not welcome. Are you seeing the distinction and the difference here? But yeah, I agree with the guy saying, I need to find another church. You people are not real Christians if you're not open to wanting to bring people to Christ and Christianity and help them to turn their life around, to hate the sin but love the sinner, and try to help the sinner find the error of their ways and clean up both figurative, literally, physically, and spiritually themselves. Then
stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
I'm sorry, I'm going to just dare say it. You're not a Christian. You're not a real Christian. You're not reading the whole Bible, the entire Bible in complete context like this show is about. We need to, I got distracted. Norton Utility just, again, I give you this whole thing, blemishes and all. You're not going to see it on the video, but a Norton Utility just popped up in front of the Zoom, and it's like, get out of here, I'm busy recording. At any rate, back to that. Yeah, chasing away sinners rather than welcoming them and trying to help them become good humans, bad. The other extreme, being so open-minded that you've become a church of woke rather than a church of Christ, bad. Where is that gray area sweet spot, right? The title, Finding the Sweet Spot. And yeah, again, no, not a sexual thing. Get your mind out of the gutter. But yeah, it involves sex in a way because we're talking about the rainbow alphabet mafia and sexual preference, supposedly, and a difference between tolerance and acceptance. They're a person who happens to be gay, but that is not what defines them. That is not what only makes them. If that made any sense to you. 3 uses of the word them. No pronouns, pun intended. Oh my, I just recognized they, them. No pronoun, pun intended. But helping them to straighten out their life, we should want to do that. That's indeed inclusive in the original sense of the word, not the leftist, woke, pathetical corruptness, twisted, warped definition. Like I said on another show, DEI, right? My friend Ed Bondarenka months ago, more people are using now DIE. Well, Ed Bondarenka was the first to do it here in Michigan months ago. Probably even last year. DEI is really DIE. He said that. I added to that, yeah, right, that makes sense, because it's not really about diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's leftist cultural Marxism about killing America, killing Western culture, uprooting so they can replace our governance system, our republic, to a commie, fasci, socies, as I say, blend. Again, this isn't the 1930s where the German Nazi socies, right there in their name, socialists, later became known as fascists, like El Duce, fascists in Italy, and Franco, fascists in Spain, fighting the Moscow-backed communists in their respective nations for power and control. Today, it's all one thing. Commie, fasci, socies blend. They're all one and the same. All have the same basic goals. They being the ruling elite, lording over all others. The color of their banner may be different, but their goals, their aims, most of their tactics, slight differences in implementation of how they achieve things, but commie, fasci, socies blend. All basically the same today. Now I've gone off on a tangent, but again, as I've said on other shows, all these things are interconnected and interrelated. So if I go down a rabbit hole, it's not just because, hey, this random thought popped into my head. These all relate. They want to destroy our culture, and gaytivists engaging in gaytivism are on the other side of that line, because their gaytivist is their identity. It is like their sole purpose in life to be part of the rainbow alphabet mafia, trying to recruit, trying to groom, trying to legalize and legitimize and normalize pedophilia. No, that is a line we cannot and shall not cross, right? That term, slippery slope. We warned on this issue and all kinds of other issues. That slippery slope that a lot of people tend to dismiss. Oh, no, it's never going to come to that. And, well, here we are. We told you. We warned you, right? It's the boiling frog analogy. You put the frog in boiling water. Whoa, wait a minute. That's too far, too hot. Jump right out. Put it in cool water on the stove, heat it up over time. It may not recognize how hot it's become until it's too late. All right? That analogy, There are red lines. The slippery slope on so many issues is real, and you were forewarned, and many of you just refused to deal with it. But again, that sweet spot, tolerance and acceptance of someone who, yeah, I'm a person and happen to be gay. I would appreciate your tolerance and acceptance is different. We should be inclusive with them and tell them how much we love them, how much we hate their sin, but we love them and we hope they find their way to Christ. We care about their soul versus someone who is gone too far, is a gativist, engaging in gativism. Sorry. Tolerance has a limitation, and you are over the line. I will not associate with you. And yes, you are clearly antithetical to Christ and all his teachings in context and not welcome. Get the point, right? For every rule, there can be exceptions. All right, I'm droning on, looking at the clock like 35 minutes. And you know, I don't like to have my shows be very long to be able to be sure I can keep you as an audience member, not tie up your whole day by having a 3-hour show, which at the time of this recording, an aside, this is a random aside, nothing to do with this episode, but I try to keep my shows 20 to 40 minutes, preferably 20 to 30, but I will be on with Rick Walker in Maverick News tonight. Well, so now I should tell you the day I'm recording this, even though this show won't air until like August the 24th. I am recording today, Friday, August the 2nd, and I'm grabbing my pen because I forgot to draw a line through Friday, August the 2nd to denote this is today. At any rate, indeed, I will be on with Rick Walker tonight, who does Monday through Friday, often Saturday and Sunday also, a 3-hour show. Oh, that's way too long, but I agree to go on. I'll be on live at 8 o'clock there. Again, it's too late now for you to know as of this airing, but you can look back to the old show. We'll be talking about a propagandized fake attack on a Crimean beach that the Russians are claiming is an assault by Ukraine using a U.S. supplied cluster bomb, which would be a war crime. It's all garbage. I'm joining him at 8. He starts at 7. I'm joining him live at 8. We're going to go till 10. And then from 10 to midnight, a very long show, we're going to be airing kind of science theater 3000 style, airing The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price and making commentary during the movie. But indeed, that's a complete rabbit hole that really has nothing to do other than behind the scenes of why I try to keep my show short. There are shows that seemingly go on forever, like Rick's kind of does. Item 5. Let's get to item 5 and wrap this up. Pensive, thoughtful versus reactional, in parentheses, emotional hysterics, right? Pensive, like Mike Pence. Yeah, but pun intended this time. There can be, we're talking extremes here and finding that sweet spot. Unfortunately, like I liked Mike Pence as a person, I never thought he was the best choice for Trump for VP the first time, and I turned out to be right. He was one of several relatively reasonable choices for good reasons at the start of the campaign. But indeed, Mike Pence is an example of the type of person or politician, can't talk, here we go, screwing up my words again. Pensive, have to think too much. take too long trying to think things through, can never have an immediate reaction to something based on internal values and principles versus, and I'm going to upset some people, again, no one is all good, no one is all bad. I agree with Trump most of the time, not all the time. I'm going to use Trump as the reactionary example because at times that inner 6-year-old of his does come out and he can indeed be too reactionary. But in this example, he's not the other extreme. There are people like the snowflakes, and yes, there are snowflakes on the left and the right that are purely emotional wrecks, hysterics, always an immediate knee-jerk emotional reaction to everything. Those are the extremes, and neither one of them are good. What is finding the sweet spot in that? Like I did at the Lutheran Church, and I saw that image on the door. My emotional first response was tempered by my brain saying, hey, wait a minute. Good, bad, ugly, gray areas. What really is that symbol saying? I, as a human, could be misinterpreting it, could be misreading it, could maybe emotionally overreact to it. I did not then, still do not now, have enough information to say whether that is indeed still a church of God, a church of Christ, indeed wanting to hate the sin, but love the sinner and be as welcoming as possible, as we should, or indeed is one of far too many churches we recognize today that are no longer recognizable as churches of Christ. They are the church of wokeism and humanism and relativism, moral relativism of today. There is difference. There are distinctions. And the point of this show, now 40 minutes in, is that let us not be the reactionary, emotional, hysteric type. Let us not, though, also be so pensive that we can never make a decision on anything because we have to think it through for 3 years. No, find that sweet spot and let your heart be there. Be empathetic, be sympathetic, be loving, but indeed engage our brains and find that sweet spot. I need to garner more information about that church to really learn what it is and what it's about before I either fully praise it or I indeed fully, I don't want to use the word condemn, right? Fully judge it. But again, condemnation, final judgment is for that of the Lord. And I will just say one last thing. Yeah, there was a woman that showed up in the audience with a pride shirt on. It's like, but again, I don't want to judge her based on that alone. See the point? I don't have enough information. I am now defensive about her. I am suspicious of her, but I have to allow her to present more of who she really is, not let that shirt define who she is in my mind because I don't know her. I don't know enough about her to indeed judge her at this point. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Take care. God bless. Again, in conclusion, yes, we are to be inclusive, to hate the sin, love the sinner, but there are limitations. For every rule, there are exceptions. Some people can be so far gone, so evil, or so bad, or so caught up No rapture joke intended. Pardon me, had to cough. But so caught up in their sin that it defines who they are. And it's all about that, only about that ever. No, I don't have to tolerate that. There are lines. So please, again, share the concepts shared here. If not, like, share, and subscribe the show itself. We need, indeed, as will be tacked on the end of this episode, like a parrot, like, share, subscribe, like, share, subscribe. Please, indeed, like the show on whatever platform you listen or watch. Share, please share it through social media or email or word of mouth to your friends and your family. This show, in order to help grow the show and get this ultimate message of love and coming together as best we can, because again, if we stay divided amongst ourselves, Christ wins. Christ and we as Christians lose. Satan wins if we are divided and at each other. Again, I have a before it's news piece. Did Christ contradict himself? Of course not. We as humans screwed things up. All these different denominations we have. Did Jesus command that? Did God command that? Did the Bible say break off into a bazillion different new churches? No, it doesn't. We humans did that. We, frail, imperfect, potential for mistakes, did that. So all these different denominations, all may be part right, all may be part wrong. It's up to us. That's where faith comes in, and focus the whole Bible in full context and coming together in love and under Christ, those things we can agree on. This is me actually signing off for real this time. Take care. God bless everyone.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff. No fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.